Funky Politics.
Funky Politics Education Reform Series is presented by the National Civil Rights Museum, sponsored by Memphis Education Fund and Southwest Tennessee Community College. We'd like to thank our media partner, Chalkbeat Tennessee.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Southwest Tennessee Community College is your best choice, Dr. Ward. You hear me?
Yep.
You know what? They are also one of the sponsors of the Education Reform Series here on Funky Politics, and we are more than glad to have you all a part of our Funky Politics family, Dr. Hall.
Well,
Very
thank
much
you.
so.
We're
Okay?
glad to be a part of the family.
Yes. And the family speaks. Oh, I'm sorry.
Were you trying to high five me or something?
No, I was going to raise my hand to you. But anyway, and as a part, like I was saying before, the education reform piece that we've all talked about. Oh gosh, man, we've talked about this and talked about it. K through 12 is going to be great, but the rest of the nation can't be great unless we take something with those young people that we put into them from K through 12, and we can produce something that maybe they can go to a community college or to a four-year institution, and then greatness happens all of a sudden.
Right.
But what happens when it doesn't? What happens when you do have a student who, and we've talked about this before, some folks want everybody to go to a four-year institution, but now some are just going to have to do some other things, and they may not be ready. So does the community college system, I hate to say it's ready for that person, because that's not necessarily so, is it, Doc?
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so
great.
when we were formed, I think early 1900s, we were formed as a junior college, and we are a offshoot of the K through 12 environment. And so that's where the junior college came in. And so many of our instructors professors years ago, had been former K through 12 teachers. And so we've kind of moved away. You may see a few junior colleges throughout the country, but we moved from junior college because of that whole stigma of we're not real college, or we're just the 13th grade. We're not that, but that junior college kind of gives you that image to community college, which we are about the community and invested in the community and really making a difference in the lives of people in a particular community or a particular region. And so...
Well, don't blame us. Blame Chris Rock.
Did he make jokes about it?
Yeah, he's the one that said community college was like a disco with books.
Yeah, see, people like Chris Rock. Yeah,
come on now.
How you know you want to laugh?
Whatever. Caroline had a real serious question.
You want to laugh, but
no.
We do understand it's a stigma thing.
Yeah,
and in a time where people want to identify with brands, it does some things, thought processes like that compromise the brand.
Right, because people don't understand and they don't know the quality of our faculty. Yeah. And that we have faculty with PhDs, and that we have faculty who have published and are quite capable of teaching at the four-year level if they so chose to. But the community college focuses on teaching, as opposed to four-year university. It's about research and publishing. We focus on teaching, and so what we do is teach, and we're good at it. And so people don't always know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wonder, just walking around in the hallways of the schools here, you see so many college banners. You see Mizzou next to the Princeton and Harvards, because as a Mizzou grad, you understand where it is in the hierarchy.
I understand.
But I'm just, I'm just saying.
It's a M-I-Z.
Z-O-U, right?
She's trying to get up her funky.
A little bit.
She got to rise out of this.
Yeah, bringing us that funky college.
So I'm curious, because I feel like that messaging starts so young.
Yes.
Right? And not everyone is meant to go to a four-year institution. And we've talked about how you kind of hang your hat on this idea of career readiness.
Right.
So what's the messaging there? What can change to make kindergartners aware that becoming an electrician is just as noble as going to a four-year institution?
That's right.
Well, I think that we have to have people understand that going to and following a career path is college. And that's what I've run into a lot here, is that people tend to say, well, not everybody's ready for college or should go to college. They could go and get a trade. Well, where are you going to get the trade? At college.
That's right.
And so there are different paths. And so it can be a career path in which your goal is to, at the conclusion of your credential, is to go right to work. Or you may choose that after you complete your associate's degree, you're going to transfer to a four-year institution because that career path in which you desire to walk on requires a bachelor's degree. Not every job requires a bachelor's degree.
Right.
But almost any career path now requires some post-secondary credential. And so it just depends on your choice.
Wow.
And
Can
so
you say that again?
I think helping people to understand that.
Can you go back to that? Because I think that's an important point. Not every job requires a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely. Does not. And so it just depends. So if your career path in which you're choosing requires an associate's degree or may require a short-term certificate, then you attend college for that certificate. A community college, we have both, we have the short-term certificates. We have the Associate of Applied Science, which that it will allow you to go right into work. But then we also have the career, the college track or the transfer path, because the job in which you want, you have to have a bachelor's degree, or you may have to have a master's or a PhD. It just depends. And so it's just, but regardless, it's still college. It's still receiving a post-secondary credential.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. We've got Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Southwest is your best choice.
Yep. But just to marry that up with, I think one of the other problems is that people we're so used to trying to make things one thing or the other. And we're not looking at this as a part of a comprehensive educational opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because whether people want to believe it or not, or whatever you say about community colleges or whatever, however they're classified, there's a tremendous middle skills gap in this country.
Absolutely.
There are a number of jobs available where there are people that are not trained to go into them.
Right.
And as you said, where are you going to get that from?
Right.
Where are you going to get the training from? So, with that being said, is the role of community college becoming more, I know that you said the numbers are going down, but are you all embracing and identifying the role more? I know it's your role from the beginning, but are you all embracing that more as sort of the solution to ending the middle skills gap now, or is that something that you're looking to do now?
In terms of promoting that career path?
Right. And promoting your institution as a place where people go to get
absolutely. And I think, again, it just comes with educating people on what it is that we do. We have to address the stigma of community colleges and show our value. I think we've known it and we've kind of commiserated with each other that, oh, wow, people think of us as, second-class citizens or whatever. Yeah. But I think we have to shake off that inferiority complex and say, this is what we do, and we do it really well. And this is our value to the community. I think if we looked at the number of graduates that come from community colleges and they reside in the Memphis area, we'll see how much we have poured into this local economy already. You look at most of our, this is nationally, first responders, police officers, EMT, nurses, the technology folks that work in allied health fields, they have started at a community college. So we really have nothing to hang our heads about. We've allowed ourselves to be seen as second class, but we're not second class by any means, and we can prove that to people by what we have already produced. So it's not so much will we start to see our role as filling the middle skills gap. I think it's telling what we've already done and what we do to fill that middle skills gap.
Or getting people to understand it, because I think that's the issue. People really don't understand
it. They don't understand
that.
It. They don't understand. And I think we have to get beyond, working closely with the high schools and the guidance counselors to help help them to tell our story about what it is that we do. I think Tennessee Promise has been wonderful because people that have not given us a thought in the past, they're rethinking. When you're looking at the last dollar scholarship and you're thinking, okay, so I can get a good quality education and my student or my child can move on to a four-year institution and the debt can be lower, and it's still, because community college students, when they do transfer to a four-year institution, they are as prepared or more prepared than students that have started initially.
When you talk about debt, and on a national perspective, Dr. Hall, I look at this thing, and they're talking about school choice on K through 12 and how school vouchers or portability, the money following the student. At some point, can we get to in this country where the average taxpayer who attends a state institution in their state, that same portability can follow? I mean, why aren't we there yet? And I'm assuming I'm not talking about Pell Grant, because Pell Grants are, typically they may fill the entire bill, but they may not. But if we can afford to pay for K through 12 education, can we not afford to pay for free college education, as I think as Bernie Sanders and I think Hillary Clinton jumped on board after a while with? Can we not do something like that with some federal dollars?
Well, I think we have an example here already in Tennessee.
With TN-ready.
Right,
with
Tennessee Promise.
Tennessee Promise, yeah.
Tennessee Promise. And looking at, so if our students, for example, if they come to us and they have a expected family contribution of 0, well, most of our students receive 100% Pell Grant. But again, as I said, that population of students, that middle income family.
That's the issue right there.
And that's what people don't focus on. The middle income family. So I was a first generation student, and I could not receive financial aid because by the government standard, I made my mother made too much money. But in fact, we didn't make enough money.
That's right.
And so I couldn't get a Pell Grant, and so we struggled. To pay tuition, and I can remember being withdrawn from classes because that bill is due, and if you don't have the bill, you're withdrawn. So I know that experience. And so if we had a Tennessee Promise or something where there was a last dollar scholarship, the money that I didn't get from Pell Grant, that could have assisted me. And so we don't focus on that middle income family that's struggling to send their child to school. And so community colleges, as we talk about, is your best choice. And we think not only Southwest, but community colleges all around, because you can have an affordable education at a lower cost, and families can afford that.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kadukian Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College.
Yep. But in addition to being able to get a quality education for, I guess, not the same amount of money that you have to pay for 4-year college, you're also resolving an issue of getting people job ready.
Absolutely.
Right? And getting them into those jobs that are going vacant because there are not people with skills to fill them.
Right. And so one of the initiatives we're working on with the whole redesign of Southwest is looking at pathways. Nationally, we're talking about pathways, and locally now we're talking about pathways. And so that's for whatever entry point you have. And so if you're coming in and you want to be an accountant, but you can't, and that requires a bachelor's degree, but right now you just need a job. And so we're looking at the whole stackable credentials. And so you may come in and have a short-term certificate, and that gets you a credential enough to get just a job, right? And so then once you make some money, you come back, and then you go and you may get an associate of applied science, and you go and you work, and then you come back on that path, and then you go to your bachelor's degree. That's where we're headed, so that students can have an on and off ramp, because no longer is it okay just to say this is your only choice.
Right.
When people are saying, well, I need a job right now, and I need a credential, and 2 years is too long, or 4 years is too long. Well, so let's set it up so that you can have some stackable credentials, get enough skills to work an entry-level job, and then come back when it's when you're able to. And sometimes jobs pay.
Or get enough skills to where you can work the job in the field that you are aspiring to go into.
Absolutely.
If you want to go be an accountant, perhaps you could start out in another field where accounting is an essential part of it.
Absolutely.
And then while you're going to school, you're earning money, so you don't have to go into debt and paying for school. Because I'm not so sure that 4-year college is necessary now for a lot of things we're doing either.
It's not.
I think it's time for us to sort of rip the floorboards up on all of these things. So we're not talking about community college versus 4-year college. We're just talking about college, educational attainment.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we need to be, right?
And maybe just experience, like you say, that stackable. Look, I go in as an accounting clerk, and I'm doing. We all know the accounting clerk does it.
How much better would the legal profession be if lawyers were paralegals before they were lawyers.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
If they understood the essentials of research and everything else before they jumped in. If you just look at what's happening right now with the number of lawyers being disciplined and malpractice cases and rates going up, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's all about the way we approach the whole issue of education and job readiness.
That's right.
And I
That's right.
think you guys are at the forefront of it.
Thank you.
But now, are you all involved with, does your student body look, or at least not your student body, does your curriculum look like sort of what the occupational set is in your area?
Well,
the things
yes.
that you're teaching, that look like the jobs that are out here in this area?
Yeah, well, I'll say in some cases. And so that's one of the other areas when we're looking at redesigning. We're looking at, are we teaching what's needed?
Right.
Because what we don't want to do is to teach only what we think is needed. And so we have with our career program advisory committees. And these advisory committees are made up of people from the industry,
Right.
serving on those committees and informing us of what needs to be taught, the equipment that needs to be taught. And in some cases, we see that we are out of date in some of the things that we're teaching, maybe in our equipment and in our approach. And so we need to update and make sure that we're staying on top of what we need to do.
And so kind of wrapping up, it's one thing, and you've spoken to this well, but it's one thing to have the proper credentials, to have the degree you need for the career you want. It's another thing to go into the city and say, I don't know anyone who's doing what I want to do. How do I get a leg up or an in? So can you speak a little bit to the community connections y'all have to set people up with jobs when they're career ready?
Well, I think the part of our programs, many of them provide internships for students, and so that's really important, that firsthand experience, and you can see that this is really what it takes to be successful. I think also, I'll back up, before they even get their credential, these pre-collegiate experiences are really critical. So what we're working on is developing pre-academies, like pre-allied health or pre-IT. And so the younger students they see what a career field in that particular industry is like, have an opportunity to meet with people in that field and find out, this is maybe what I want to do, or no, this is not what I want to do. Too often we have students saying they want to be a nurse and they don't like the sight of blood.
Yeah.
And so
I want that nurse.
Yeah, you don't want that nurse. And so we say, well, maybe this is not the field for you, but then there are other fields maybe that are in the health profession, that are in the helping profession, that will not require that you come into contact with blood because you don't like it. But again, it's the exposure. And so if students aren't exposed to certain fields, they don't know. And so they may have grown up thinking, this is what I've always wanted to be. And then they find out, I don't want to be this. Mm-hmm. And so it's just the exposure to that. But then once they're in the program, the internships.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukian Network. We have in our studio this evening Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Southwest is your best choice.
This is DC and Doc Ward talking to you about the great opportunity available for you at Southwest Tennessee Community College.
You can get a business degree. You can open doors to a wide range of opportunities. Engineering and information technicians are in demand to help power manufacturing and logistics. And paralegal studies, man, those majors are in big demand right now. Register now for spring classes starting January 17th. Call 901-333-4399. A wide range of programs for the most in-demand careers are just another reason. Southwest Tennessee Community College is your best choice.
In Memphis, there are 116,000 very important young minds. 20,000 of them attend schools in the bottom 5%.
The Memphis Education Fund partners with committed organizations to give these students access to an equitable education.
Their partners work to operate quality schools, recruit, retain, and develop effective teachers and leaders, ensure community voice, and support the needs of the whole child in Shelby County's priority schools.
This is the story of a great people, of hopes and dreams, of challenge and change. It's an American story. The story and struggle that started many centuries ago lives today in the halls and on the walls of the renovated National Civil Rights Museum. Enter the Supreme Court Halls of Justice, sit with Rosa Parks on the Montgomery bus, hear Mahalia Jackson sing at the March on Washington. Plan now to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. For more information, log on to civilrightsmuseum.org.